All right, so solving by completing the square. This is a method that works for anything, but we have to make it perfect. Not our quadratics are never. Occasionally we get lucky and we get a perfect square trinomial, like our flashback, that x squared plus 14x plus 49. That just happened to be a perfect square trinomial. It doesn't happen very often. So sometimes we have to force it to happen, and that's what we're going to do. Solving, our whole goal is to get x equals some answers. Remember, factored form we want parentheses, and standard form we want it multiplied out. So here's our problem. Example number 1. X squared plus 10x. Then I want you to leave space, because we're going to be writing something in that space, and it equals 4. So we have x squared plus 10x equals 4. Alright, so now what we have been doing with figuring out what goes in those parentheses, we're going to do that again. So in parentheses, we have x. That sign comes straight down, so it's a plus. And then this is where your colored pencil is going to come in. We're going to put half of 10 is 5. And so 5 is going to go into that spot. And then 5 squared is what we're going to put here. 5 squared is 25. So we are adding 25 to this side of our equation. If I add 25 to this side, I have to add 25 to this side. Now that plus 25 isn't an exponent or anything. I just couldn't fit it in because of where I drew my arrow. So if I were to factor x squared plus 10x plus 25, I get x plus 5 times x plus 5. But I had to force this guy to be perfect. He wasn't perfect to begin with, so I had to force it, and I did that by adding 25 to both sides. Now, we're going to rewrite what we have. What is 4 plus 25? 29. So I have x plus 5 squared is 29. Now, how do I undo a square? I'm going to square root it. Because there's nothing hanging on the outside of those parentheses with a square. I can't get in, I can't reach in. This is like a box. I can't stick my hand through the box and rip out the power cord or rip out the 5. I have to open the box. So to do that, I'm going to square root both sides. And so I end up with x plus 5 equals positive and negative square root of 29. Now does 29 break down to anything? Not really. So we have x plus 5 equals the square root of 29. We have x plus 5 equals a negative square root of 25. Now we're not quite done because at the top we said an answer is x equals. So we need to get rid of that 5. So let's subtract our 5 from both sides. Can I mix the 5 and the 29? No. 5 doesn't have a square root on it, and they have to be the exact same radical. So we just have x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 29. And that's it. Questions? The only difference in what we were doing before is that now we're adding that box or that C, we're adding it to both sides. And then we solve just like you did yesterday. Alright, let's try another one. Example number 2. Let's do x squared plus 8x, leave space, equals 2. So now, in our parentheses, we'd have x plus 4. Why is it 4? Because half of 8 is 4. Now, what's going to go in our empty space here? Plus 16. So 4 times 4 is 16. And so I'm going to add the 16 to this side, and I'm going to add the 16 to this side. You have to balance it. So 2 plus 16 is 18. So I have x plus 4 equals 18. Is there anything on the outside of those parentheses?
Nope.
No, just a square. So how to get rid of the square? You square root it. So I have x plus 4 equals, plus or minus, now 18 breaks into what? 9 and 2. 9 breaks into 3 and 3. We have a pair. So what's that going to be? Plus or minus 3 square roots of 2. So this is unit 2 right here with our radicals. Then what do we do?
Minus the 4 from the 3.
Get rid of the 4. You get x equals negative 4 plus or minus 3 square roots of 2. And that's it. Now we're going to do one more example that has a little piece that's a little bit different. And then we'll be done. Done writing? Say that again. You are now? Okay. So example number 3 is x squared plus, let's do minus this time. We've been doing plus all along, let's do minus. So x squared minus 10x plus 3 equals 7. Now, how is this one different than the last one?
It already goes 3.
I have a 3 there. So that's kind of, is half of 10, half of 10 is 5. 5 squared, is that 3? No, so that's junk. So let's subtract it to the other side and get it out of the way, and then we have set up like what we had been doing. So this 3, it's not a it doesn't make a perfect square trinomial, so we're going to manipulate it so that it'll work just like what we've been doing. So we have x squared minus 10x. Now leave your space, equals 4. Now we're going to do it just like we did before. So who goes in our parentheses?
X minus 5 squared.
So x minus, got our 5, and we got our 5 by saying 10 divided by 2. Do you notice the sign changed in the middle? Because it was a minus, we have to have a minus here. 5 squared is 25, so I have to add 25 here. Put it in a cloud, so then that way, or a box or something, so you can see what's happening. 4 plus 25 is 29. and do a square. Square root. I have x minus 5 equals positive, negative. Can you break 29 down? No. Do I need the parentheses anymore? There's nothing on the outside of it? No, I don't really need the parentheses. You could have not written them. So I have x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 29. And we've completed the square. Now, everything that we did works really well when we don't have like a 1 in front of our x squared. We can get it to where it works even if we have a 2 or a 3, but that requires a different step before we start it. So that is solving by completing the square.